I'm the kind of employee who gets skipped when they order team t-shirts. Not a metaphor. An actual event. There was a Friday where everyone came in wearing matching navy blue Nuranix hoodies with their names stitched on the sleeve. I showed up in my usual jeans and cardigan. No one said anything? Not. We forgot. Not. It's on the way. Just nothing. I didn't even make the group photo. I was in the bathroom. No one waited. I work in data integrity. My job is to make sure our customer databases don't implode every time sales logs something incorrectly or marketing decides to manually override a tag they don't understand. It's like cleaning a pool after someone's thrown a rave in it. Useful. Unseen. I'm not client-facing. I don't get performance bonuses. I don't show up in CEO updates. I'm the last step before we break something and the first person blamed when something already broken finally stops limping along. Most people in the office think I'm an intern who never left. The new hires call me Janine. My name is Jamie. I don't correct them anymore. Every once in a while I try to engage. I send helpful suggestions to the ops team. I flag bugs before they become fires. I answer questions in Slack threads no one else touches. Responses range from "thanks" to being completely ignored while someone else posts the exact same thing 15 minutes later and gets a round of applause from Leslie, my manager. Leslie is everything I'm not. Loud. Blonde. Effortlessly visible. She refers to herself as a people alchemist. I once saw her use a ring light during a company Zoom call. She has a catchphrase. Fail fast, pivot faster, which she says so often we should get it printed on a plaque and hang it above the coffee machine. She also once asked me to be a little less precious with your boundaries when I declined to answer Slack messages after 8 p.m. So that's Leslie. She leads a team of 12. I'm number 11. Number 12 is David, a junior analyst who started 6 months ago and already has a private one-on-one on her calendar every week and his own folder on the shared drive titled David's Innovations. I have one titled Miscellaneous Archive. We're not the same. A few months ago, I built a process that shaved 3 hours off our weekly reporting time. I even made a walkthrough video. Leslie thanked me in the meeting, then reworded the explanation and credited David for identifying the opportunity. He gave me a thumbs up under the table. I smiled. Filed it away. I don't keep score anymore. I keep records. Because I've learned, places like this don't reward merit. They reward momentum. Visibility. Being a culture fit. They love people who make noise, who raise their hands, who volunteer to host trivia night. Me? I'm a ghost in a warm seat. I do the work. I vanish. I've watched 3 people get promoted while I've trained their replacements. I've onboarded managers who thought pivot table was a piece of IKEA furniture. I've sat through lunch and learns where the speaker mispronounced sequel, like it was a vitamin supplement. It doesn't bother me anymore. Not the way it used to. Because I stopped trying to earn a seat at a table built on illusions. Now I just watch. And lately, I've seen something interesting: cracks. Leslie overpromising. Teams cutting corners. A client complaint that mysteriously vanished from the internal ticketing system. And a suspicious number of coffee runs tied to networking calls with former coworkers who just happen to work at companies currently hiring. The ship is starting to leak. And while they pose for selfies on the deck, I'm down in the hull. Listening. Waiting. Because I may not be on their radar, but I know exactly what happens when someone finally listens to the quiet one. The weird thing about being invisible is how often people talk like you're not there. Last Thursday, I was refilling the paper tray in the copy room, thrilling stuff, when I heard Leslie and one of the marketing leads talking in the hallway outside. I didn't move. They didn't see me. And even if they had, I doubt they'd have registered my presence. She's not a star player, Leslie said. But she's low maintenance. Fills a role. She's like background support, the other voice said. Like a printer. You don't think about it until it jams. They both laughed. And I, the living, breathing printer, quietly loaded 500 sheets of A4 and said nothing. That moment stuck with me for the rest of the week. Not because it hurt. I'd stopped expecting kindness years ago, but because it confirmed something I'd been suspecting. I was a utility. Not a person. Not a contributor. A piece of infrastructure. A tool. And no one thanks the tool. They just use it. The same day, I noticed a strange thread in our internal bug tracker. A data pipeline failed, nothing new, but instead of being flagged and reviewed, it was manually overwritten. The logs were cleared. No audit trail. Just a clean fix where there should have been a red flag. I dug a little deeper. Found 3 more like it. Every one tied to Leslie's team. Every one resolved with 0 documentation. Interesting. I made copies. Saved them to my personal drive. Just in case. The weekend passed like sand slipping through a funnel, quiet, weightless, gone before I could use it. By Monday morning, I had 20 unread emails, 7 Slack pings, and an invite to an emergency sync, hosted by Leslie. No context. Just that vague title every corporate minion learns to fear. We all logged in at 9 a.m. sharp. Leslie was late, naturally. The rest of us, 12 black boxes and 3 brave souls with webcams on, stared at each other in that familiar muted purgatory. Then Leslie joined. And didn't realize her mic was on. She was still on a call with someone else, maybe another manager, maybe her personal phone. Either way, her voice came through loud and clear before she clicked into our meeting window. I'm just saying, if we have to cut someone, Jamie's the obvious choice. She does data entry. You can outsource that. She's fine, but no one would notice. My stomach went cold. The entire Zoom window went still. No one spoke. Not even a hello? You could hear the blinking cursor of collective discomfort. Then Leslie realized. There was a pause, the kind you only get when someone's brain hits a full blue screen. Then, oh, sorry about that, tech glitch. Anyway, good morning everyone. She launched into her agenda like nothing happened. Budgeting updates. Performance metrics. Upcoming Q3 planning. Her smile never cracked. Her tone never wavered. But the silence was different now. David didn't nod. Mia, who always fake laughed at Leslie's jokes, was stone-faced. Even the interns looked uncomfortable. I didn't say a word. I just took notes. After the meeting, I got a Slack message from Mia. Did she just say what I think she said? Then one from David. Damn. You okay? Then another, from someone I didn't recognize. Hey Jamie. I know we've never worked together, but that was messed up. If you ever need anything, let me know. 3 years of invisibility. And now, suddenly, people saw me. Not because I did something amazing. Not because I spoke up. But because Leslie forgot to hit mute. The day after the hot mic meeting, I came in to find 3 post-its on my desk. All anonymous. All in different handwriting. That wasn't right. You deserve better. You're not invisible. She's going to try to cover this up. Watch your back. I didn't keep them. I didn't need to. They weren't warnings. They were confirmations. Leslie's mask had slipped, not just in front of me, but in front of everyone. And the thing about people like her? They don't apologize. They reorganize. Reframe. Repaint the story until it sounds better out loud. That meant I had maybe a week, tops, before she rewrote the narrative. So I did what I do best. I documented. I opened a folder on my personal drive and labeled it. If I disappear. Inside, I began collecting everything I'd observed but never voiced. Screenshots of Slack messages where credit was misassigned. Audit logs showing unauthorized data edits from Leslie's account. Email threads where she made, off-record, decisions that violated policy. Copies of performance reviews with identical language for multiple employees. And, of course, the meeting recording. Yes, someone had saved it. Mia sent it to me over Signal, with a message that read, "For when the gaslighting starts." I didn't plan to use it right away. I didn't even know if I would. But knowing it existed was like holding a fire extinguisher in a room full of sparklers. Meanwhile, Leslie went full politician. She started checking in on me daily, performative wellness checks that ended with phrases like, "We just want to make sure you feel supported." And, "Communication is key, Jamie. We all have to learn from missteps. No apology. Just vague empathy wrapped in corporate fleece. David stopped speaking in meetings. Mia switched her Slack status to focus mode and stopped laughing at Leslie's jokes. The vibe shifted. And in that gap, between fear and fallout, I realized something. I had power. Not because I had dirt. Not because I was about to go nuclear. But because they were worried. They were finally treating me like someone who could affect the story. That was new. I used it. Subtly. Started weighing in on Slack threads again. Tagging facts. Linking documentation. Not aggressively. Just enough to remind them, I'm here. I know things. And I can be useful, or disruptive. Leslie responded by asking me to join a cross-functional review team, the same one she'd previously staffed with high-visibility collaborators. I said I'd think about it. And kept collecting. Because the truth was, I didn't know what I wanted yet. Not revenge. Not a promotion either. But maybe, balance. Maybe just the ability to choose my moment for once, instead of always reacting to theirs. Late one night, I stayed in the office past 8. The lights were low. The building half empty. I heard Leslie in the conference room on a call. She's getting attention now. That wasn't the plan. I thought she'd fold, not start speaking up. My hands went cold. She wasn't talking about the company. She was talking about me. I stepped closer, just enough to hear. I can fix it. I'll reassign her. Or bury her in process work. Trust me, she's not a threat. I smiled in the dark. Not a threat? Good. I'd rather be underestimated. That way, when the time comes, they never see it coming. If there's one thing corporate middle management hates more than being caught, it's not knowing what you're going to do about it. And that's where I had Leslie, in that squirmy limbo between guilt and fear. The week after I started curating my little "If I Disappear" folder, things got weird. Not openly hostile. Not lawsuit-level shady. Just performatively awkward. I got added to meetings I wasn't needed in. Invited to lunch with a group that forgot to order me food. Assigned to a visibility initiative that involved building a slide deck for a project I wasn't part of and wouldn't be presenting on. It was like watching someone try to extinguish a gas leak with scented candles. Leslie even sent me a plant. A succulent. With a handwritten note that said, "You bring growth wherever you go." I stared at it for a full minute before bursting out laughing. Because either that was her attempt at subtle manipulation, or a passive-aggressive threat in cactus form. Regardless, I named it Damage Control. It now sits on my desk, judging everything. But the real twist came on Wednesday morning. I logged into Slack and found a message from Leslie. "Hey Jamie, we're thinking about reorganizing team workloads. Want to take on something new? I've got a cross-departmental ops audit that could use your skill set." Translation: Please disappear into a spreadsheet black hole where no one can hear you scream. I replied with, "Sure. I love a good audit. Happy to help." Because sometimes the best trap is the one they think you walked into. She sent the files that afternoon, a disorganized mess of access logs, project timelines, and budget spreadsheets from the last 2 fiscal years. Honestly, it was glorious. Leslie had just handed me a digital confession booth. I started sorting. Page by page. Line by line. And what I found was juicy. Like, email your lawyer. Juicy. Unauthorized spending. Department overallocations. Inflated productivity reports. And my personal favorite, a marketing contractor who'd been paid for engagement consulting 12 months in a row without ever attending a single internal meeting. I looked up the name. It was her cousin. Classy. So now my little folder had an appendix. Suspicious vendor payments. By Friday, I had subfolders. Tags. Cross-references. If the company ever hired an internal auditor, this file could be sold as a self-guided museum tour. And still, I said nothing. Leslie, meanwhile, started acting like we were best friends in a sitcom. She looped me into Slack threads with gifts. Asked if I wanted to grab coffee and debrief. Started calling me J-Dog. Yes. J-Dog. I have never gone by that name. I have never even owned a dog. I replied. Appreciate the support, Leslie. And smiled like someone who wasn't staring at a digital folder that could ruin her quarterly bonus. But that's the thing about people like Leslie, they're not scared of damage. They're scared of someone knowing how to document it. Because rumors can be denied. But a screenshot with a timestamp? That's just a fact with a grudge. So I kept compiling. And I kept smiling. Because the longer she underestimated me, the more carefully I could lay the foundation for what came next. I didn't want her fired. I wanted her to see, the same way she made me invisible. And when it finally happened, I wanted her to understand, this wasn't retaliation. It was recognition. Corporate tension has a sound. It's not shouting or doors slamming. It's quieter than that. It's keyboards slowing down. It's laughter that stops a beat too early. It's that weird moment when the good mornings are suddenly only half as enthusiastic, and people start checking their messages before they open their mouths in meetings. And it was everywhere. It had been 3 weeks since Leslie's hot mic incident and 2 weeks since my reassignment to the Ops Audit project, the one she clearly hoped would keep me busy until the heat died down. Instead, the heat was building. Because you can't hand someone a data dump and assume they won't read it. I read everything. I found purchase orders signed twice, mysteriously duplicated invoices, vague contractor titles like Strategy Enhancer, and time logs with start times at 4 a.m. for remote employees in different time zones. Not impossible, but fishy. And I cross-referenced all of it. Because that's what you do when people treat you like a filing cabinet with eyes, you become really good at organizing things. Meanwhile, Leslie launched what I can only describe as a guilt-powered morale tour. Suddenly we were doing pulse checks, quick 15-minute one-on-ones where she'd ask questions like, how are you feeling about your place in the team? Do you feel valued as a contributor? What can I do to better support your growth? If she had asked that 6 months ago, I probably would have cried. Now? I just smiled and said, this project has really clarified my role. I've never felt more useful. She took that as a win. I took it as a layered insult. But the kicker came during one of those mandatory team building lunch and learns, where we were supposed to brainstorm how to build resilience through cross-functional collaboration. Translation, free pizza and buzzwords. We sat in a circle in the conference room while someone from HR, who I'm 80% sure is actually just a sentient LinkedIn post, asked us to go around and name one thing we appreciated about the person sitting to our left. I sat to Leslie's right. She turned to me, smiled like a cat on Xanax, and said, I just love how Jamie doesn't let challenges dim her shine. You're so resilient. I blinked. I wanted to say, I'm not resilient. I'm just tired and petty. Instead, I said, thanks, Leslie. That means a lot. And then, because I'm me, I added, it's been a really illuminating quarter. She paused for a fraction too long. Which is how I knew she heard it. Later that day, she sent me an off-the-record Slack message. Hey, just between us, I think leadership is noticing the work you're doing. This could open doors for you. Maybe even a lateral move, something more public-facing? Now, if you've ever worked in an office, you know what lateral move really means. It means same job, different place, new people to ignore you. But she wasn't trying to promote me. She was trying to relocate me. Far from the team. Far from the project. Far from the damage. I replied. Appreciate the heads up. Really hoping to finish this audit strong before jumping to anything else. No emoji. No exclamation points. Just teeth beneath a smile. Because we were past the point of pretending. She knew. I knew. Everyone else? Still figuring it out. But soon, they'd see it too. Because in a company where nobody listens until something breaks, sometimes you have to become the sound of the break itself. There's a weird sort of calm that settles in when you realize you're holding a metaphorical grenade. You don't panic. You don't gloat. You just sit very still and think, well, let's see what happens now. That was me. Monday morning. Sitting at my desk with a manila envelope in my lap like it was radioactive. Because in some ways it was. Inside was everything. Audit inconsistencies. Paper trails. budget weirdness, Slack screenshots, a timeline, even a printed out org chart with little arrows pointing out Leslie's preferred vendors, whose surprise included her cousin's engagement consulting firm that charged us $9,000 for a 12-slide PowerPoint titled, "Teamwork Makes the Dream Work." I annotated it. I highlighted the grammar errors. I was ready. But still, I waited. Because once that envelope left my hands, things would change. I couldn't unsend it. Couldn't pretend I didn't know. And more importantly, couldn't stay invisible anymore. Leslie was still spinning. At the Monday team stand-up, she opened with, "I just want to acknowledge the amazing energy we're all bringing to this quarter," and then directly avoided eye contact with me for the next 11 minutes. She assigned David to lead innovation strategy for a project that didn't exist and casually mentioned a realignment opportunity. For me, that sounded suspiciously like moving a chair into the hallway and calling it leadership. I smiled, nodded, took notes. That afternoon, I packed up the envelope, double-checked the label. To Compliance Director. Confidential. Handwritten in the kind of neat lettering that says, "I'm not mad. I'm just devastatingly prepared." Then I marched myself to the 9th floor. For those unfamiliar with corporate topography, the 9th floor is where ethics lives. It's quiet. Carpeted. Everyone talks like they're narrating a meditation app. The receptionist glanced up, clearly mid-crossword. "Can I help you?" "Yes," I said, placing the envelope gently on the counter. "Just dropping off some materials for the compliance director. Time sensitive. Not technically untrue." She looked at the envelope. Then at me. Then slid it into a metal bin labeled Intake Priority. And just like that, it was out of my hands. I turned. Walked toward the elevator. And of course, the elevator doors opened to reveal Leslie. Perfectly timed. Like the universe was directing a very petty sitcom. She did a small double take, eyebrows raised. "Jamie! Up here for something?" I held my tote close and said, "Just tying up loose ends." She smiled. The kind of smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. "Staying busy, I see." I nodded. "Always. Wouldn't want to be accused of underperforming." The elevator doors shut between us before she could respond. I rode down in silence. When I got back to my desk, the plant she gave me, damage control, had a single, yellowing leaf. I clipped it off and tossed it in the bin without a word. Then I sat. Breathed. Let the calm settle back in. Because the thing about people like Leslie is, they're always betting you won't follow through. They think silence means surrender. But me? I wasn't silent because I was afraid. I was silent because I was aiming. And now? The arrow's in flight. The investigation didn't start with a bang. It started with a calendar invite. No subject line. Just a name I didn't recognize, Victor D., Ethics and Compliance, and a meeting link scheduled for 10 a.m. the next day. No agenda. No details. Just 20 minutes. Blocked. Non-optional. If you've never had your inbox blink open to something like that, congratulations, you've never hit the point in your job where the walls start to breathe. I wasn't nervous. I was ready. But when 10 a.m. hit, and I clicked the link, I wasn't prepared for how normal it looked. Victor was in his 40s, polite, thin glasses, beige sweater, background blurred to HR-level blandness. If you passed him on the street, you'd assume he did your taxes. "Thanks for joining," he said. "We received your documentation. I'd like to confirm a few points and ask a few questions." The call lasted 38 minutes. He didn't emote. Didn't accuse. Didn't thank me. He just asked for clarity, timelines, context, any gaps. I walked him through the audit materials, the Slack threads, and even the engagement consultant, who billed us twice for the same month. I never raised my voice. Never implied revenge. Just facts. Timestamps. Evidence. By the time the call ended, Victor nodded, typed something I couldn't see, and said, "This will initiate a formal review." That was it. No fireworks. No cinematic zoom out. Just a single phrase with the power to rewire the entire building's energy. By the next morning, people knew. Not because I said anything. but because the company is one giant whisper network wrapped in branded coffee mugs and anxiety. Suddenly, HR was reviewing team structure. Leslie canceled 2 meetings in a row. David pinged me in Slack. "Hey, are you okay? Stuff feels weird." Mia, who hadn't spoken to me directly since the hot mic day, left a protein bar on my desk with a note. "Whatever happens, you're a badass." The energy shifted. Not dramatic, but noticeable. People stopped talking about team strategy and started talking about reorg possibilities. Eyes darted in meetings. Silence stretched longer. "And Leslie?" Leslie tightened. Her tone got sharper. Her messages shorter. She started saying things like team synergy and alignment objectives, like they were threats instead of buzzwords. I caught her whispering with HR outside the kitchen. She didn't smile as often. She didn't joke. She didn't say my name. Not once. Instead, she addressed me like I was a department. "Can we get an update on the audit? Where are we with timeline alignment? Is data ops ready to scale insights?" I didn't respond immediately. I let the silence breathe. Let it echo just long enough for the discomfort to stretch. Then I answered calmly, precisely, and with documentation. Because I wasn't angry. I was operational. People around the office started watching me the way you watch someone who might be in charge and just hasn't told anyone yet. No one said it out loud, but I could feel it. I'd gone from ghost to gravity. And gravity bends everything around it. Victor's email arrived at 6:07 a.m. The subject line was blank. The body read, "Jamie, thank you. I've reviewed the documents. Can we speak today? 10 a.m., this link. VD. No emojis. No. Let me know what works best." Just a straight line of corporate formality that said, "We're in motion now." I showed up to that Zoom call like I was walking into a courtroom. Laptop charged, coffee poured, a notepad beside me, not for taking notes, but to fidget with because I wasn't about to chew my fingernails like I was 19 and waiting to get fired from a retail job for lack of store spirit. Victor looked like every man who'd ever paused mid-sentence to adjust his glasses and say, "Let's walk through the timeline." Pale blue background. Sweater vest. A voice that sounded like a lullaby for anxious auditors. He didn't ask me why I sent the report. He just asked if I could verify the chronology and walk him through the relevant Slack threads. I did. He asked if I was aware of the policy language around third-party vendor procurement. I was. He asked if I had any reason to believe my manager would attempt to retaliate or obscure the audit's content. I answered, respectfully, yes. He didn't flinch. Didn't nod either. He just typed. Clicked. Said, "We'll be in touch." The call ended. And with it, the waiting. Because once the conversation starts upstairs, nothing stays quiet downstairs. By the next day, the pulse of the office was different. Slack statuses started staying on. Do not disturb. Private messages lit up like emergency flares. People didn't ask questions in the big channels anymore, they messaged me directly. Carefully. "Is this about what I think it's about? You're brave. Just saying. She's been shady for years." Finally. Leslie canceled 3 meetings in a row and started replying to emails at 2 a.m. Her tone got weird, sharp, chirpy, insecure. She scheduled a team huddle titled, "Transparency and Trust Rebuild." It was a disaster. She opened with, "I know there's been some misinformation," and instantly lost the room. David kept his camera off. Mia kept her mic on mute but made no effort to hide her eye rolls. I watched it all and said nothing. Because now? Everyone was watching me. Even the interns were nicer. One of them brought me coffee with a sticky note that read, "You're who I want to be when I stop pretending." That almost broke me. Not because I needed the flattery, but because it meant something had finally cracked open. Not just the system, but the belief that it couldn't be cracked. By the end of the week, HR sent out an anonymous pulse survey about department culture and leadership confidence. It was optional. I filled it out with precision and calm rage. In question 14, "Do you trust your immediate manager to support your professional development?" I selected, "Strongly disagree." Then wrote a 200-word essay under. Optional comments. Somehow, I think it wasn't optional anymore. By Friday, I noticed something new. People weren't just avoiding Leslie, they were gravitating toward me. Asking my opinion in meetings. Requesting input on projects. Including me in brainstorms that didn't have anything to do with data ops. It wasn't flattery. It was adjustment. Like the office itself had decided to rotate slightly on its axis. And now, somehow, I was center. And Leslie? She didn't fight it. Not openly. She just shrank. Started quoting policy in emails like she was shielding herself. Forwarded messages she'd normally reply to. Used phrases like, per compliance guidelines, like garlic against a vampire. But the thing is, once you've built your whole career pretending to be in charge, the moment people realize you're not, it's over. They might not say it, but they'll act like it. And that's the beginning of the end.